A new Superman trailer has been revealed, and it didn't go unnoticed. In just a few minutes, it made it clear that this new vision of the hero is ready to break patterns, spark debate, and reignite discussions about what it truly means to be the greatest symbol of hope in comic book history. One of the most striking and uncomfortable moments in the trailer shows Superman on the ground, defeated, unable to even move. It's a powerful image. Not just because of his physical state, visibly broken and wounded, but because of what it represents. A complete break from expectations. We're so used to seeing Clark as the ultimate symbol of invincibility, but this scene reveals a different side, the vulnerable hero, completely out of control. All signs point to his defeat coming at the hands of a powerful character, likely Ultraman, or maybe even a version of Ulysses. Regardless of who's behind it, the impact is already felt. And it's heavy. Among all the elements in the trailer, one that really stands out is the presence of Krypto. From the very first seconds he appears, Krypto steals the show. The way he moves, his expressions, his impulsive energy, everything about him is designed to spark an instant connection with the audience. He's not some generic pet, he's that clumsy, mischievous, lovable dog so many of us know well. Only now, with strength and speed worthy of a Kryptonian. But his role goes beyond just being charming. In one of the trailer's most pivotal moments, Krypto is the one who carries a severely injured Superman all the way to the Fortress of Solitude. Even without fully grasping the seriousness of the situation, he acts on instinct, on bond, and that transforms the moment. It's not just a heroic action, it's a gesture of loyalty that says a lot about their relationship. This portrayal makes Krypto a character that resonates across generations. Kids will laugh, adults will relate, and longtime fans will recognize the lighthearted spirit that has always existed in some versions of Superman's story. He breaks the tension, not as forced comic relief, but as part of something deeper, the emotional and family-oriented side of the hero. Another great detail is how Krypto's design and behavior were crafted to feel neither overly calculated nor too cartoonish. He's not a robot in disguise or some mystical creature. He's a dog, with flaws, instincts, and genuine reactions. And that makes him incredibly endearing, almost impossible not to like. If there's one symbol that truly carries the weight of Superman's mythology, it's the Fortress of Solitude, and the trailer doesn't just show it, it honors it. The sequence revealing this iconic location is one of the most visually respectful nods to the source material. The inspiration from All-Star Superman is crystal clear, and fans of the comics will spot it within the very first frames. The setting is crafted with a care that moves away from the cold realism of past adaptations. The fortress feels alive, with its crystalline architecture and guardian robots welcoming Clark in a nearly ceremonial way. These robots, by the way, have been redesigned with a blend of classic tradition and subtle modernization. The shoulder capes, stylized eyes, even the chest numbers, every detail reinforces their identity and personality. And here's the most interesting part. The scene doesn't try to hide its fantastical roots. It doesn't attempt to explain everything with overcomplicated tech jargon. Quite the opposite. The direction leans fully into the mythical, almost magical nature of the fortress. It marks a clear shift in tone. Rather than trying to make Superman's world feel real, the film seems ready to embrace its legendary essence. The fortress has always been the place where Clark reconnects with his roots, where he finds counsel, healing, and clarity. And even with its brief screen time in the trailer, that feeling is perfectly delivered. This is where the rebuilding begins. Among the trailer's most symbolic scenes, one stands out for how it fuses two core pillars of Superman's mythology: science fiction and the almost spiritual mysticism surrounding his powers. We're talking about the scene where he heals through direct exposure to the sun's radiation. This concept, deeply rooted in the comics, is brought to life here with a striking visual impact. Clark's body, wounded, exhausted, starts to react as it's bathed in the light of the yellow sun. But not in a subtle or instantaneous way. It's intense, marked by clear signs of pain and struggle. And that's important, because it's not just his body healing, it's hope being restored. The logic is simple for comic fans. Kryptonian cells work like solar batteries. The more energy they absorb, the stronger they become. and when damaged, the sun acts like a kind of source code, regenerating everything, from tissue to vital functions. The trailer nails this by portraying the recovery not as something magical, but as an organic response to the environment. A process that requires time, energy, and pain. After all, rebuilding a being of such immense power isn't supposed to be easy, even if he is Superman. One of the most noticeable trademarks of this new trailer is the visual and narrative style that James Gunn brings to the direction. From the very first seconds, it's clear this isn't a continuation of the dark tone that dominated much of DC's recent productions. This time, the goal is different: to embrace fantasy without being ashamed of looking fantastical. The trailer doesn't try to hide the classic elements of Superman's universe. On the contrary, it puts them front and center with pride. Caped robots, alien crystals, otherworldly technology, all presented with an art direction that doesn't over-explain or try to ground these details too much. They are what they are, and that's exactly why it works. This choice signals an important shift in tone. It's not about forcing humor or turning everything colorful for contrast's sake. It's about treating fantasy with respect, honoring its internal logic. Instead of reshaping the character to fit a realistic world, the film seems to be reshaping the world to fit within Superman's mythology. And that makes all the difference. Because by owning this style, Gunn seems to be telling the audience, this is a superhero story, and it's okay if it feels fantastical. The comic book-inspired visuals, the almost timeless atmosphere, and the creative freedom suggested by the trailer are all clear signs that the goal isn't to hide the absurd, but to turn it into visual poetry. Amid all the visual and narrative elements of the trailer, there's a detail that might go unnoticed by many, but it carries enormous symbolic weight. Some of the scenes set in Metropolis were filmed in Cleveland, Ohio. And that's no coincidence. Cleveland is Superman's creative birthplace. It was there that Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster imagined, drew, and brought to life the hero who would change the history of comic books. By choosing this city to visually represent part of Clark Kent's world, James Gunn isn't just building a setting, he's paying tribute. It's as if, behind all the fiction, the film is acknowledging its real-life roots. This location choice adds a subtle layer of meta-language, a respectful nod to the character's origin. And for the more attentive fans, it's also a heartfelt gesture, a reminder that before becoming a global icon, Superman was just an idea born in an ordinary neighborhood by two young guys who loved science fiction. This kind of decision reinforces what the entire trailer is trying to convey: care for the story, the legacy, and the emotion behind the myth. Superman isn't just being reinvented, he's being celebrated from his origins, with heart and intention. If you enjoyed this breakdown, go ahead and hit that like button to support the channel, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any content about movies, series, and everything happening in the geek universe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.